Here's what we'll be doing. We'll set up a 5-sheet budget workbook, one for each of the 4 quarters of the year, and a summary sheet linked to the quarter sheets. The first sheet will be used as a template. Updates in any sheet will apply to all. We'll also do a recap on cell referencing, including relative and absolute. Open a new Excel document and save it to a location you choose. We want to create a worksheet in this workbook for each quarter of the year, and also a worksheet for totals and analysis. We begin by setting up our first worksheet. Start by right-clicking on each additional worksheet at the bottom left and choosing Delete, leaving Sheet 1 to work with. Right-click on Sheet 1 and type First Quarter in its place, with no spaces. We will set up this worksheet as somewhat of a template for creating worksheets for the remaining 3 quarters. I entered the title First Quarter Budget to cell A1 and the subtitle 2011 to cell B2. In cells A5 through A13, I entered rent, electric, water, phone, cable, daycare, car payment, car insurance, and totals. In cells B4 through E4, I entered January, February, March, and totals. You can build these depending upon your own monthly expenses. Add any formatting and design elements you would like to carry over to the other worksheets, such as font style or logos. In cell E5, add a sum function that totals cells B5 through D5. Then, with cell E5 still selected, hover to see the small plus sign in the lower right corner and copy that formula from cell E5 through E12. Do not fill cell E13 with this formula. Select cell B13 and add a sum function that totals cells B5 through B12 for expenses for the month of January. Do the same procedure to add functions that total cells C5 through C12 for February's expenses and cells D5 through D12 for March's expenses. Double check to be certain that all functions are coded correctly and in their proper cells. Remember, this is a template. Take some time to catch up on relative and absolute cell referencing. This great example on YouTube may lead you to dressing up our budget workbook. Relative cell referencing identifies the location of a cell or group of cells. Excel's default is relative cell referencing. When edits are made to a function, relative cell referencing will reflect the new location. Absolute cell references will not change when functions are copied and pasted to other cells. As I stated earlier, we will be using this single worksheet as a template to create the other quarterly worksheets. Now that we have our template set up, we will create the other worksheets before entering any specific data. Right-click on the worksheet name First Quarter and select Move or Copy from the menu. Leave the To Book as is, but change the second option to Move to End so our worksheets copy in the order that we want. Be sure to check the Create a Copy checkbox and then select OK. Do this procedure 2 more times to create worksheets for the 3rd and 4th quarters in order. Now you will have a worksheet for each quarter of the year. Right-click on each Worksheet Name tab for sheets 2 through 4 and rename them 2nd Quarter, 3rd Quarter, and 4th Quarter with no spaces. To the left of 4th Quarter Worksheet Name tab, click on the New Worksheet icon to create a new sheet for the summary. Right-click on the New Worksheet Name tab and rename as Summary. For now, leave the blank summary worksheet alone. Return to each of the 3 quarterly budget worksheets and dress them accordingly by changing the title and the monthly column headings to fit each quarter. Set up the quarterly budget summary according to the example. This time the expenses will be column headings versus row headings. The row headings will consist of the 4 quarters relating to each quarterly budget worksheet. Format the cells within as currency with no decimal places. We will work on the functions next. In cell K5, add a sum function to totals cell C5 through J5. Copy this function from K5 down to K8. Do not include this function in cell K9. This cell is reserved. In cell C9, add a sum function that totals cells C5 through C8. Copy this function across from cell C9 to cell K9. If you haven't already, populate each quarterly worksheet with its own data. Obviously, you may be working with the current year, which is not yet complete. When the data is available, you can enter it then. I populated all of my worksheets during this exercise to show the results. You should not have to enter anything in a total cell if your functions are working properly. Excel lets a user link a cell from one worksheet to another worksheet within that workbook. You may also link cells to other workbooks, but this method is beyond the scope of this exercise. Begin with Summary and select cell C5, First Quarter's Rent Expense. Type only the equal sign. Then select the Worksheet Name tab, First Quarter. Select cell E5 in First Quarter for the totals for rent expenses for that quarter. Hit Enter to complete the function. Now, if you change any rent amount for any month in the first quarter, not only will the total update on that worksheet First Quarter, but on Worksheet Summary as well. We'll do the next one step by step. Select cell D5 in Worksheet Summary. It is the first quarter electric expense total. Tap the equals sign. In the Worksheet navigation, select the Worksheet Name tab, First Quarter. Select cell E6, the electric totals for the first quarter. Tap Enter to complete the function. Excel takes you directly back to Worksheet Summary. My cursor defaults to occupying the cell beneath the one I was working with originally. You may pause this presentation while filling in the remaining functions to complete the worksheet summary. Be sure to follow these steps in order. If the function is coded in the wrong order, it will not update. Start with Worksheet Summary. Tap equals in the cell you want to work with. Navigate to one of the quarter worksheets. Select the cell you want data from. Tap Enter to complete the function. So for this exercise, the summary provides the totals for expenses in each quarter. It also provides totals for each expense for the course of the year or at any point of time in between. Today I gave you a real-world example of using the linking capabilities of Excel. We started with a budget workbook idea and created a new Excel workbook. We created, formatted, and designed a single worksheet for one quarter of the year. We used this worksheet as a template to create worksheets for the other 3 quarters. We also created a 5th worksheet within the same workbook to log our totals for all the quarterly worksheets. We linked cells from the quarterly worksheets to the summary worksheet so that any amounts changed in any of the monthly expense fields will update automatically. You were also given a brief overview on relative and absolute cell referencing, with an option to watch a recommended video clip. In the end, we have created a budget workbook, which creates an easy way to track and monitor which expenses are more costly and when.
It is typical that beginning and even intermediate MS Office users are intimidated by Excel. Beginning with the understanding of the concepts of relative and absolute cell referencing, the linking capabilities of Excel truly help eliminate keying data more than once. It also provides the ability to link functions, making it a powerhouse for multiple calculations. Using this workbook and understanding the concepts covered in this training session will build your confidence in learning more complex versions of similar exercises in the future. Again, my name is Kimberly Rodriguez with IT Training Solutions. Thank you for joining me.